though, seeing as Pete and Alex are getting married down under, about 3,500 miles away from friends and family, we, that is Nick, Chris and Will, your three brothers, Pete, remember, decided that you weren't going to be able to get away from A, us being a part of your wedding, and B, us giving Alex a little insight into the man she's marrying and planning to spend the rest of her life with. So, as big brother, I have the dubious privilege of starting our best man speech to you, Pete, and covering off a story or two before your other siblings trample all over your grave. Where to start, though? Pete wasn't always the strong, silent type, Alex. In fact, when he was very young, and by young read under 10 years old, Pete used to suffer from dreams. Pete, I wanted to big you up here by saying you were dogged by night terrors, but you and I both know there was nothing terrifying about your dreams, except perhaps for the fear they instilled in us when you decided to start relaying the unabridged version over the dinner table. If you've ever read The Never-Ending Story, Alex, that's really, really short compared to a Pete dream recap. Mum and Dad always wanted to encourage you, but even Mum's proud eyes used to glaze over once you started. We used to dread your "I had a dream last night" announcement. Not quite a Martin Luther King audience pleaser. Anyway, that phase ended abruptly with the unceremonious burying of a wooden spoon in your head, and the Pete story saga was over. Pete was always a clumsy child. Think Mr. Bump without the coordination. He had a real habit of finding the only bump on a flat bit of ground and tripping over it. You may have noticed, Alex, he has a number of scars on his scalp, most of which were caused by accident, but there was one incident that took place which I have to take some responsibility for. Pete and I had had a little altercation about something, I can't remember what now, following which he chased me with a plank of wood. I wrestled it off him, and he went running back for the house, at which point I threw the plank over my shoulder, and as luck would have it, it clobbered Pete on the head, after which he had to be taken to A&E to have another set of stitches. The good news is he doesn't do stupid things like that anymore. And by stupid things, I mean he doesn't chase me with planks of wood. Now, Alex, I'm sure you're aware of Pete's eating habits by now, unless he's been hiding them from you all these years. Well, they weren't always as refined as they are now. Around the age of 13 to 14 years old, Pete used to have a very special way of eating breakfast. I am talking, of course, about his inhalation of Weetabix. Here is a man who, rather than using his spoon as a shovel to put food in his mouth, used it as a platform to launch wheat and milk-based food directly into his stomach. You can imagine, I'm sure, the inhalation sound, very similar to the sound the last bit of bath water makes as it disappears down the plug hole. I'm sure you try and avoid breakfast time with Pete wherever possible, as I did from the ages of 15 to 18. Anyway, Alex, the last thing I wanted to mention before I let my brothers get a word in edgeways is there's always been a question mark hanging over the Welly Boot Gate incident, and although the perpetrator was never caught, Pete was always the prime suspect. The question is, Alex, is that a skeleton in his closet you can live with? Anyway, just to finish off this best man speech, we're all really glad that you and Pete are getting married, Alex. We've considered you one of the family for many years. Just remember that when you're waiting for him to turn up on Byron Bay Beach, he might be about 10 minutes late, but I'm sure that's something you're quite happy with.
Fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep, 'cause they fill the open air and leave teardrops everywhere. You'd think me rude, but I would just